All right, guys, welcome back. Key Knowledge 10 Legal Obligations for Staffing. Pretty quick one today, nice and easy. Here's our study design, and here is where this sits within it. You can see we're getting towards the end of Unit 2 now. So legal obligations for staffing such as occupational health and safety, and agencies such as Equal Employment Opportunities and Workplace Gender Equality Agency. So there's three specific things that it mentions in there. So that's what we're going to focus on. So as an employer, you obviously have a whole range of legal obligations towards your employees. Yeah, you've got to make sure you keep them safe, and there's a whole raft of stuff. Remember, go back earlier in the course, we talked about access to legal advice when we're starting our business, which kind of because of this kind of thing, nobody's going to come in when they start a business having knowledge of all of this sort of stuff, which is why you might want to access legal advice early on in the piece so that you kind of don't fall foul of any of these areas, basically. Because as you'll see, you can end up in quite a bit of trouble if you do. So there's lots and lots of different areas of law which covers employment. But as we just saw, the study design just mentioned three areas. So that's all we're going to look at. Pretty briefly, you don't need to know the ins and outs of these. Just a real summary of these is good enough. So first off, let's start with our occupational health and safety, or OH&S, as we tend to call it. So this one, the Victorian Occupational Health and Safety Regulations 2017. That is our latest kind of update, if you like, to the OH&S Act 2004. So the 2004 Act is our main piece of legislation, and there's kind of an amendment to it later on to 2017. Now, it's Worksafe Victoria, which is the government body who is responsible for enforcing all of this stuff, basically enforcing workplaces complying with this particular legislation. And they actually have the legal authority to enter any work premises and inspect them and issue some pretty serious penalties if any of these rules are being broken. So if the standards are not being met. And those penalties can include fines of over $3 million for a company and over $200,000 for individuals. In other words, the directors of a company. So it's really, really important that you have proper OH&S processes and procedures absolutely in place. What does it cover? This kind of stuff here. So basically the provision of necessary training and supervision of employees, particularly around the use of equipment, chemicals, materials, that sort of thing, making sure employees are not exposed to any excessive risk. Noise would be one of them. So in other words, if you're in a loud environment, you would need to provide those, earpieces that kind of block out the noise. So the reason you'll see businesses have those is because of the OH&S as they need to. Safe use, handling and storage of hazardous substances, safety procedures, including things like fire exits not being blocked, emergency equipment all being serviceable. So every business, you'll go around and you'll test fire extinguisher things once a year, make sure they're all working, because if Worksafe Victoria came in and they had to look at a fire extinguisher in your workplace and it wasn't working, you could be up for a fine. And also in providing employees with adequate and clean facilities for toilets, clean drinking water, breakout areas, clean eating areas, that sort of thing. So it covers a whole raft of stuff, but just some examples that you might want to draw on. Okay, the second piece of legislation that the study design mentioned was equal employment opportunities. Get it out. So this one is the Equal Opportunity Act 2010. And this act says it is illegal for employers to discriminate on the basis of any personal characteristics. So things such as their age, race, gender, nationality, so on and so forth. Makes sense. Employers also, though, have to eliminate any discrimination, harassment, and bullying in their workplace. So you have to have processes and procedures in place to deal with those issues if they crop up. So you need to have some kind of policy written that you can refer to if, for example, an employee comes to you and complains that someone else in the workplace is harassing or bullying them. So again, it goes a bit broader than just that straightforward discrimination, as you see in that first little paragraph there. This is overseen by the Victorian Equal Opportunity and Human Rights Commission. So that's a government body again, and again, they can issue some pretty significant penalties if employers are failing to comply with any aspect of that particular area of law. They also run a free dispute resolution service to help resolve issues in the workplace. So again, if you've got an issue between employees or between employees and management even that you can't solve, you can go to this government body and they can provide assistance with resolving that particular issue. And they also provide some education, some training and support for businesses in understanding this law, because it is a pretty complex area of law. So like I say, with all of these here, we're not even really scratching the surface, just really introducing you to the idea that they kind of exist, and very broadly what they exist to do. And the third one from the study design, it said workplace gender equality. So this one is the Workplace Gender Equality Act 2012. And that says that employers must ensure that people of all genders are equally represented, rewarded, and valued in the workplace. So this agency was actually created from new around that time to improve gender equality in all Australian workplaces. Okay, and still to this date, every year, all businesses with over 100 employees have to complete a report issued by this agency that explains the progress made by that particular business in achieving gender equality. So HR, human resources teams around the nation, particularly in the last couple of years, it's been even more of a kind of hot issue in human resources. So they will all have been, really focusing on putting in place some strategies to improve the gender equality in their workplace. And that is it. So like I said, a real just touching on each of those three areas, just so you're aware that they exist and broadly speaking, what they're there to do or to stop businesses doing in some cases. That's it for Key Knowledge 10. I will see you in the next one. Cheers for now.